it's beneficial for
Mhm.
really honing into your craft and like learning how to keep that drive, but it also can be really, really hard on you mentally.
Today, we have the rising star, the most beautiful lover, Elle Rose in the house.
Hi, so glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. It is an honor to have you.
Thank
Of
you. Yeah, I'm really excited.
course, that you're in bright, sunny California right now.
It's pretty spectacular today, I'm not gonna lie.
I can see the weather looks amazing. It looks really nice. Southern California is a great place.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it. Boston,
Yeah.
East Coast girl. How the heck
Yes.
did you get into country music?
Yeah. So I come from a very musical background. Both of my parents are professional musicians and music teachers. And growing up, I had a bunch of music, flooding my ears constantly. But funny enough, most of it was jazz and classical.
Oh,
My dad is primarily a jazz and classical musician. He's a jazz trumpet player. But my mom, she's a pianist and she loves country music. So growing up, I had the Chicks, I had Faith Hill on, Shania Twain, all the like powerhouse female country stars. And that's really what I gravitated towards. So my first memories of like the music that I really, really loved was the Faith Hill record. And there's videos of me, as a kid dancing to Breathe. And I just really gravitated towards that type of music. So I grew up playing violin. I started when I was 4. And again, with violin,
that's impressive.
yeah. Yeah, with violin, it was,
So you're playing the violin. That's very impressive.
yeah, so it was my first love was the violin. And I did some bluegrass and fiddle, and then kind of followed towards, the more traditional classical route of it, and played all through high school. And
Wonderful.
then I really discovered Berklee College of Music and
Great.
really wanted to go there.
Congratulations.
Um,
Great school.
yeah, yeah. So I ended up going there. My dad ended up getting a job with them the same time I got accepted. So we went to Berklee at the same time.
That's
It was
great.
pretty great.
Yeah, for you then. That's a good thing.
Yeah, so I really honed into like the songwriting and country music while I was at Berklee. But I also really discovered that there's not much of a country scene in Boston,
No,
especially being at a jazz school.
right.
Yeah, so I kind of went into Berklee knowing that I wanted to end up in Nashville, because at that point I had picked up the guitar, kind of dropped the violin a little bit, and really wanted to dive into songwriting. So yeah, so I really knew that I wanted to be there only for a couple years, and then eventually make my way to Nashville. So I kind of treated college like a way that people wouldn't traditionally treat it. I didn't really follow like a degree or the classes that I was supposed to be taking. I took the classes that I wanted to take. And yeah, I didn't graduate. I dropped out after 2 years.
You know,
Um,
so many people are like that. And I've had even entrepreneurs. We've had a lot of entrepreneurs on the show, and they think the number one waste of money is extended education.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, what do you need to take a math course for? And what do
I
you
know.
like? And it's such a, you know what? It's because the universities want to make money. That's exactly why.
Exactly. And like, Berkeley is one of those schools, it's kind of backwards because the music industry is one of the hardest, least paying jobs, right? Yet Berkeley, the education is insanely expensive.
Yes.
And I mean, half of the
Great school.
people, I bet it's more, but like half of the people at least that go there, they don't get a job in music.
Mm,
And that's unfortunate, but it's really because it's so expensive. You're paying off student loans and debt,
right.
and the jobs you get are right out of college
And
working at Guitar Center, you
right.
know?
For no money. Right. For no money.
Right. And then it's also like there's the burnout aspect of it because the culture of that school it's amazing, but it's also so hard on you mentally. Um, it's, it's the music industry on steroids because
Yeah.
there's nothing else at that school other than music, which
Right.
again, it's beneficial for
Mhm.
really honing into your craft and like learning how to keep that drive, but it also can be really, really hard on you mentally.
Yeah. And you're on
So
the East Coast where it's cold. It gets cold from
yeah, oh my
October
gosh, I know.
till June. It's cold.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Um, so yeah, so I ended up dropping out and my parents were supportive of it. They
It's
kind
great.
of said, like if this is what you want to do, then you can go there as a 20-year-old, but you're going to have to support yourself financially. You're going to have to get a job. And so I worked at a preschool. I was a preschool teacher.
Oh,
I kind of did childcare.
they must have loved
Yeah.
you. So sweet and pretty. I
Uh,
bet.
I loved working with children. I started babysitting when I was like 13. So that was an easy job for me to get right off the bat. And it was sustainable because I was working 40 hours a week. I was actually making money and then able to record music. Whereas I feel like a lot of people, they'll move to Nashville and they'll try and make it as, a songwriter or live performer, and that's really hard.
Let's talk about that this morning, how
Oh,
that's a
really?
damn near possibility.
Yeah.
You know,
It's hard. It's really hard.
it's really hard. I mean, I asked him, what his advice is because
Yeah,
we've a lot of artists and, you know, this is the question I ask. I'm like, what's the plan B? And they're like, oh, there is no,
totally. Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
have,
And so I think it's important because I think I would say the same. There's no plan B. However, there's a little cushion. Like you have to have an income if you want to be an independent artist who's recording music. You have to. Well,
absolutely.
unless you have,
Hit the
X amount of like
lottery.
support.
Right.
Right.
Let's say hit the lottery and then just hand you
Right.
all. So how old
Exactly.
were you when you moved? You were 20 when you moved to Nashville.
Yeah, I was 20 years old. And when I moved to Nashville, it was a very strange time to move there because it was 6 months before COVID.
Uh,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
an
So,
industry that thrives on connections.
yeah. Yeah. So I actually moved there with my boyfriend at the time. He was a couple years older, graduated from Berkeley. We moved there together, both musicians. And we lived there for 6 months and it was wonderful and great. And then we had a huge tornado come through Nashville and it demolished the house that we were living in.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but that was a week before COVID,
Yes, I do remember that. Yes. Your
right?
parents must have been like, oh my God.
Yeah. So it was like two strikes in 1 week of just a lot of life changes. So tornado hits, 1 week later, COVID. We're living in like an in-between housing situation because our house is demolished. We're 20 years old. Like we don't have money to go.
Were all your possessions total too?
So luckily, we were living in a townhouse, a little community of townhouses. We were in the center, so we were the only people that didn't lose everything. Like
Somebody was
a
looking out
bunch,
for you, girl.
yeah,
Somebody was looking out for
seriously.
you.
A lot of our stuff was damaged, but I mean, we had a whole home studio and it was fine. Like we didn't lose important equipment, so we were really, really lucky. But of course, there's that mental strain and
Goodness,
crazy
I can't.
PTSD.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't imagine how bad it is.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And then, like I mentioned, COVID hit, and so that was another whole, thing on top of that. And then we ended up breaking up
Yeah.
2, 3 months after
You
that.
are
So it
a
was like,
country song.
yeah,
You're your
yeah,
own song.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
I
crazy.
like to talk about that time of my life because it really did, it put me on the path to healing and really shaping me as a human. I had to grow up really fast.
Yeah, no doubt.
um, yeah, so that was a really transformative time of my life, and it was a very interesting and unique, you know, intro to Nashville. I feel like I
Right.
trauma bonded with Nashville, and now I'm like, it's my home. I can't ever
People
leave.
trauma bonded with Nashville.
I trauma bonded with it. Yeah.
What was it like during when the pandemic hit in a city that's just on fire all the time? Like it's just bumping all day long.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I had a really different experience from a lot of people because of the tornado happening right before.
You were
I
prepared. You were
I
ready.
wanted to be in isolation, honestly.
Right.
I
Oh,
wanted to be in isolation. So that time is such a blur for me. Like I will say like I was performing so much before that happened. I had a residency downtown at this brand new hotel. I was doing like a piano parlor bar thing
yeah.
2 hours every Saturday night. It was wonderful. I was making so much money and tips and meeting so many people. And I was doing the whole round scene. And I think that even before all this happened, I felt like that wasn't really where I wanted to be in Nashville. I didn't want to end up in that like playing live scene every single week, the Broadway scene. Like that's not really who I am as an artist. I'm more so in the writing scene.
Yes.
Um and recording. Like that's where I thrive is writing and recording. And I do like playing live, but it's more intentional gigs rather than I'm playing cover songs every
Right.
Saturday night.
Talked about that with many artists too, how
Yeah.
you almost have to start out with
Yeah.
covers and then mix in your music to get the
Right.
attention of what, yeah,
Right.
that's, I can imagine.
Yeah, so I think it was kind of for me, it was weirdly nice when COVID first happened because I was already dealing with this like newfound anxiety from the tornado and like wanting to be isolated and not wanting to be social and not wanting to go play. I had like crazy performance anxiety.
Wow.
So it was kind of nice for me.
Maybe that was a good reset for you just
Yeah,
to
it was.
take it down a couple notches. Did you
It
do a lot of
was
during COVID?
a lot of writing.
A lot of writing, yeah.
Yes. And so that's, that's where it really was a blessing for me is I really honed into that. And I actually recorded my first single during that time, which was kind of a strange experience because we're all masked up and
Right.
um
Right.
yeah, but yeah, it was the start of uh becoming more of a serious writer and really starting to record a bunch and put my music out there. And yeah, it was weirdly kind of a nice time for me as an artist.
Tell me what happened during the breakup. How'd you rebound from that?
Yeah, so I think that I'm very much a relationship person. I was in a serious relationship in
Same,
high
same.
school and
Yes.
then got into this serious relationship all through college. And again, I was really young. I hadn't ever really been single in my life. And so I think I really needed that. Um, and that period was pretty amazing for me. I moved into an apartment by myself, was living on my own for the first time, and I was just dating
Such
and like
long and
yeah,
and breakup and COVID and woof. That's
yeah,
a
it was
lot.
crazy. It was crazy. I got to spend a lot of time with my friends and make some really great friendships. And just, you know, figure out who I am as a person and who I am as an artist because my boyfriend that I was dating at the time, he was in a pretty well-known band at our college we went to.
Okay.
And he was really well known in that school. And when we moved to Nashville, my entire community was his community.
Wow.
And
Wow.
whenever I would meet people, I would introduce myself as his girlfriend because everyone knew him, but they didn't know me.
Right.
And so that was pretty weird. Um, and I think I got to a point when we moved to Nashville where I'm me, I'm Elle Rose, the artist. Like I deserve to introduce myself as that and not,
It's funny how things happen. Like one door closes and another door opens.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel
Hmm.
like you're going through it. I totally understand, but
Right.
what a beautiful way to go into that.
Yeah. So I created my own community and I figured out who I am as an artist without relying on him and his connections. And yeah, it was a pretty amazing time of my life,
Yeah.
honestly.
Were your parents like go get it, or were they like, oh my gosh, I have a 26-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
I think I'd be like, you need to come home. You need to come home. You need to come home.
I think I think they did feel that way, but they never expressed it to me, which I really respect.
Yeah, they sound like amazingly strong, incredible parents.
They are. And we're so close, which that makes it, even harder. Um, I know that deep down they want me to come back home, but they know that I have this dream and I've had this dream literally forever. Since I could walk and talk, I knew I wanted to be a rock star. I used to tell them like my name is Rock and Star and I want pink hair, which is hilarious because now I kind of have pink hair.
Right, you're right
Um,
there. Color scheme
I
is good.
just realized that right now. But yeah, I used to walk around the house and, say I'm gonna be Rock and Star, and that has literally never changed. So they know that I need to try and do that and see what happens in my life. And they're really, really supportive of it.
That's
Um,
incredible because the family
yeah,
support is everything.
everything. Yeah.
How do you network? How do you make connect? We all know that the key to the many could be through just one person that you meet.
Yeah.
How do you do
Uh,
that? Tell me what it's, you're young, you're in Nashville.
yeah.
You start connecting yourself with people.
I will say Berkeley was probably the biggest thing that I got out of that education was the connections.
Mhm.
They always said, they would always tell us when I was a student there that your Berkeley community goes just beyond the students that are here right now with you. And wherever you go, you're going to have your Berkeley family. And it's the truth.
That's
What,
great.
yeah, when you tell someone, oh, I went to Berkeley, and they say, oh, I went to Berkeley too, instant friend. Like you'll have that connection, and there's this deep understanding. So I will say, moving to Nashville, that was huge for me to have some of those connections. That really started it for me in terms of like the writing scene,
Great.
but in terms of um, getting into the recording side of it, I told myself when I moved to Nashville, no more settling. I'm going to just reach for the stars. No more imposter syndrome. I'm going to reach out to people that they might say no to me, but I'm just going to do it, see what happens. And I reached out well, I did some research and I found some producers that had produced some of my favorite records. For instance, Maren Morris's first record, Hero, that was one of my all-time favorite records that really got me into country music. And I did some research. I found out one of the co-producers, looked him up, messaged him, not
Wow.
thinking anything would come from it.
Right.
And he's now my full-time producer and a great friend. And we've been working together for 5 years now.
That's
Um, yeah, yeah. So I just I just kind of beat that imposter syndrome, at least like told myself, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and just reached out to people. And Nashville is such a
What
welcoming
worst somebody,
community.
what's the worst somebody can say? I'm a
Right,
life coach, and I tell people, what's the worst of no? What's the worst thing that don't take it personal?
right, right. And every no is going to lead you to an eventual yes.
And it'll close that door and just to move on. What would you
Yeah,
say to the artist? We've worked with a lot of artists. What do you say to the artists who didn't go to Berkeley or didn't
yeah,
have any music training, but they're we know it's a 10-year town,
yeah.
we know a lot about Nashville and it's a 10-year town. What's your advice to those people?
I would say, and maybe this is common to say, but the writing, if you're a writer or if you're an artist too, the writing round scene is huge for that. And I also did start out, going to Nashville by going to those rounds and either playing in them or just meeting people. People want to meet you in Nashville.
They totally
Um,
in Nashville. And
they
I
want to
don't think
meet
there's
you.
a group of people than country music artists. It's
Yeah,
not cutthroat. It's very help the next one in line. What can I do for you?
totally. It's a
I'm
community.
Yeah, and everyone is just so
Right.
humble, and no one's jealous. They
Yeah.
want they're cheering your success, which has to be very different than the rest of the music industry.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree, especially now living in California. I've been going over to LA and yeah, it's just a totally different vibe.
Yeah, that's
Nashville's so great. It makes me so thankful for it. But
it's a
yeah,
small town feeling in a big
it
city.
is. It is. So yeah, I mean, I think the writing round scene there is wonderful, and I would say go dip your toes in that water. Get to those rounds and either play in them or just sit in the audience. And then if you hear a song you love, go up and talk to the writer, book a session with them. Um, People will they'll book rights with you, even if they don't know who you are, for the most part. So that would probably be my biggest piece of advice. Um, but also act confident and no one will question you.
Right, right. And
It's all
that's
it seriously.
like the life, right?
Yeah,
Like putting yourself out there, which for, at least you had a background in music. It's
right.
really hard for, a guy with a guitar and a dream.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, yeah. So, I mean, beside like, now, what is the flood of people like you're meeting now that you're successful and the doors have opened? And what's that like now?
I mean, it's still a challenge, like so with meeting Brad, Brad is my producer, by the way. He opened a huge door of connections because he works with top of the art session musicians. He works with, the musicians that are playing on every cut you hear on the radio. So, he's introduced me to a lot of amazing connections. So that's been great. But I always say that you're in Nashville, you're one person away from like your top artist or your top writer. You're
Absolutely.
always like one person away.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of continuing to form relationships, meeting people. I mean, going out to the bars. My favorite bar in Nashville is Red Door in Midtown because it's like the industry bar. Every
Yeah.
time I go there, I meet like 10 people in the industry, and yeah, that's my hub for networking.
Tell me what it's like for a fan to recognize you.
I haven't had too many experiences with that yet. Um, but I have had a couple, and it's really rewarding. It's still
Bad.
like, again, like imposter syndrome for sure, I feel like a lot of us struggle with that. But yeah, it's just rewarding,
I,
to know
I
that people are hearing your music.
and receiving it and like
Right.
loving it.
Resonating, yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about the power of social media when you're an artist.
Yeah, I mean, that's taking over the industry right now.
Really? I think it's
I
taking over,
def
to be honest. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I'm still navigating that. I feel like TikTok is the hub of it right now. And that is a platform that I'm not on a lot because it just overwhelms me, honestly.
it takes
And
like to me, I can't even look at it. It'll just take me down a rabbit hole.
yeah, it's just, and I have conversations all the time with fellow writers and artists about TikTok and how, like, I've seen it bring, people I went to school with or friends, peers. I've seen it bring them from just being, someone who's an independent artist with a dream to someone who's now playing, Nissan Stadium. Like
Unbelievable.
that's what can
The
happen through
power of,
TikTok. It's
right.
pretty crazy, but I think
So
for
crazy.
me, yeah, I think for me I struggle with the idea of that because and maybe this sounds silly, but like I want to have more of an organic path than
Right.
that.
I
I
don't think
just
it
don't,
sounds silly. I think it sounds amazing in a world where we're
yeah,
plugged into something constantly.
yeah,
Very authentic. So that must be really, to me, who handles your social media? Do you do it?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's a job.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it feels really unsustainable to me to have, again, the artist who not even a year prior was just an independent artist, not really having much experience playing big shows or anything like that, and now they're playing Nissan Stadium. For me, like I wouldn't know how to handle that mentally, I don't think. I don't know how.
I'm a life coach and a therapist. I can help you. You'll be fine.
I just, for me, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's not super sustainable for your career.
Right.
Um, I know it's people do it, but I don't want to be like the one hit wonder, and
I
all
don't think
people know is your
anyone,
TikTok song that went viral.
yeah, I don't think any artist that truly has a passion for the
Totally.
industry. Tell me what it's like when you get comments on on social media.
Yeah, I think for the most part right now, I'm not really dealing with any like negative comments because again, I'm not like a big artist right now by any means. I don't have a lot of high traffic. But it's really fun and amazing to see the positive comments for sure.
That,
Um, yeah, I think comments are on social media are such a tricky thing to navigate though,
oh,
because
I feel that same way, and I'm not even in
yeah,
a position, and I feel it's
right. It's you take it so to heart.
you
Whatever
do.
somebody says,
It's personal when somebody says something. How could you not take it
right,
personal?
right. And it's hard when like your life is completely, open for everyone to see and comment on.
Absolutely.
So,
That's
um,
own pressure.
yeah, exactly.
That's I'm
Exactly.
keeping up with, or every artist I've had this week has said the damn algorithms.
Yeah, it's really tricky. I feel like yeah, it's confusing to me. Honestly,
I
social media is so confusing to me still.
And I'm sure they didn't teach you that at Berkeley because it's like now, and now that country music has literally been, the world has wrapped its arms around country music.
Right. I
If you
know it's crazy. It's like a trend now to be a
hopefully
country
it'll stay
musician.
forever because I just think it is the best music, and I just
Yeah.
such a cool. Who's your favorite artist?
I would say for a while, my favorite artists in terms of country have been Casey Musgraves and Maren Morris. Uh, I think that especially Maren, I heard her music for the first time when I was 15, 16 years old. And I was just starting out in terms of writing country music, but I never heard anyone's writing in country that sounded like mine. At that time, it was like Miranda Lambert, Carrie
Right?
Underwood, like really yeehaw country.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Very.
that's not my, yeah, it's a very specific type of country. And that's not my writing. I'm very much more on the pop side of it, especially growing up with all those different influences, like the jazz and the classical, so much
Right.
pop and rock in my house growing up. And yeah, my writing has always felt like this for sure falls in the line of country, but it's just slightly not what I'm hearing. And I think now that's I can understand that better, but at the time, being a 15, 16-year-old, you think that you need to write what you're hearing. So
Yes, that's
anyways,
true. I mean, I guess
yeah,
and at that point in your life, like the emotions, especially if you grew up in a good home, like you don't have a lot of old baggage to talk about.
right. It's mostly just like my ex-boyfriend in high school and all that.
It,
um,
it made a whole career around that.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think Marin was the first person that I heard whose writing sounded like mine. And that's really what made me want to be in country music and made me feel like I had a place in country music. Um, and then same with Casey Musgraves, she started off really, really yeehaw as well, but then entered this new realm. And I think she was also one of the first female country artists to do that and to really like take a risk with her music. And look what it
That is
did for her. Yeah,
that is taking risk because you could be in today and out tomorrow.
yeah,
How do you
yeah.
feel about that being very authentic to what you do?
Yeah, I think with everything I write, with everything I do, it has to be authentic, you know? And I think that's why I've also kind of stayed in the realm of writing for myself rather than breaking into like writing for other artists. It's hard for me to
Right,
do that at this point. I think that everything I want to write right now is for myself.
right, right. That's
Um,
cool then.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that that's a huge part of me as an artist is staying authentic to my roots and where I came from and the artists I grew up listening to and um yeah, but I definitely struggle with that, because
I
you
bet.
hear you hear songs on the radio and you think, okay, that's what my songs need to sound like. Like my songs don't totally sound like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do some artists go for the quick, one hit or
Yeah.
imitate somebody else? And in this industry, it's very common.
Yeah. And I mean, there's strategy to that, like I've seen, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Emily Weisband. Yeah, who's an incredible writer. She started her career just as a writer, and then she, kind of transitioned into trying out the artist thing. And
Right,
because she already had this huge, career being a writer, she automatically had fans when she was an artist. And I've
right,
seen a lot of writers and artists follow that path of starting out as just a writer so that they have that push as an artist rather than starting as an artist. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've seen a lot of that and I think there's strategy to that for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
no doubt, because you're one hit away from, or one
Yeah,
person that
I know.
can
Yeah.
open doors for you. You just never.
Yeah.
What's the 5-year plan look like?
Yeah. So I think I'm very much a forward thinker and I like to think ahead and make plans for the future for myself. Um, and my plans have definitely changed within the past couple of years because I got engaged. And that,
Congratulations. I'm
thank
so
you. Thank
Let's
you.
get a
Yeah.
shot of the ring. You have the ring on. Let's get a shot. Love it. Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you. Yeah,
You
it's been an amazing period of my life, but again, it's changed a lot of things for me. Um, I think in 5 years, like I want to start having a family. And so I think that it's put my career as an artist into perspective of like, okay, these next 5 years, like that's go time. That's when I need
right.
to make it happen because I know it's possible to have a career as an artist, as a musician when you have a family and kids, but
Many, many,
I
many
don't
artists.
know.
Yes, many, many
Yeah,
artists.
many do it, but I think for me, like especially working with kids for such a long time in my life, I was a nanny and nanny preschool teacher, worked with kids up until this past year actually. Um,
Yeah.
I yeah, I know how much of a full-time job it is. And
Right.
I want to be able to, when I have kids, like give that my all as well and give that all of my attention. So I think the 5 year plan for me right now is like give it absolutely all that you have. Because, for 5 years, past 5 years, I was in Nashville. And like you said, it's a 10-year town.
Your
So
city.
I'm feeling this pressure of like, okay, this is the next 5 years.
Go
Let's
to.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned in the beginning, I'm recording an album this year,
Yes.
which is scary because I'm an independent artist. So I'm, funding that myself. I just did a big crowdfunding campaign and doing all that. It's expensive. It's a lot of
Very
work.
expensive. Yes. I don't
Yeah.
think people, I think what we think, if you're outside the music industry, is that you have some talent and then people just start chucking money at you.
Yeah, it's not that.
Every single thing costs money.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yep.
it's really hard to do this.
It is. And when you're an independent artist, when you have a job that's not in music, all of that money is going towards your music,
Right.
like that's where it's coming from and that's where it's going. So it's hard. It's really hard. But I'm really excited for this next year recording this album. I think it's going to be great. It's songs that I've been writing over the past couple of years and It's definitely
Speaker.
the best songs that I've written thus far. So that's gonna happen this year. And then, hopefully the move back to Nashville. And then, like I said, it's go time. I'm
It's
hoping
time.
to dive into potentially looking to get a publishing deal at some point. I think that would be really, really a good next step for me
What's
as
the
an
importance
artist.
of a good manager?
Say that again.
What's the importance of a good manager?
Yeah, I'm constantly in the search of management. I think that I'm at the point where that needs to happen. And I think that you can do a lot without a manager, but I think that when you have a good manager, it can completely change the trajectory of your career.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I
yeah,
bet.
yeah. So I think that I'm definitely in the stage of searching for management. And again, it's like I don't want to be with just anyone. It needs to be someone who loves my music as much as I love my music. I
Absolutely.
don't want to be, working with
Team.
someone that doesn't. Yeah, it's a team. It's a team. So it's all exciting. I'm very
Oh,
excited for the next
very exciting.
5 years. Yeah.
So how scary is it as a young artist, with people approaching you? I want to represent you because we know that one signature means somebody could control
Yeah.
your music the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I studied music business in school as well as songwriting, and that really opened up my eyes to that. I think the industry is ever changing, so I'm sure it's already changed from like what I've learned in school, but
Every
um
imagine every day it
yeah,
changes.
it changes all the time. But yeah, I think it's scary, but I think that in Nashville it makes it less scary. Maybe that's like naive to say. But I think that there are more people for the most part who have your best interest at heart.
That's
Um, yeah, rather than like a place like LA. I've seen a lot of LA, like I said, this past year, and
we've
it's
heard that from a lot of artists that
yeah,
they feel more comfortable where the industry is. And
yeah,
we've heard a lot that have said that, California is a very sleazy town.
yeah,
I mean, where there's an
yeah.
opportunity to make money, there's an opportunity for someone to take advantage of money.
Exactly. Whereas like my experiences so far, and again, like, there's sleazy people everywhere. This happens in Nashville too, but like my experience, um, for instance, with Brad, my producer, is like when I first met up with him and showed him some of my songs when I was 20 years old, and he was honest with me and he said, I can see the potential, but like I only work with artists that I really believe in. I don't want to just take your money. And so, for the first couple months that we knew each other, he just said, keep sending me work tapes, send me demos. And when if I hear something that I really love, like we'll work together. But he didn't want to just take my money. And I've had multiple experiences with people in the industry in Nashville like that,
Yeah.
where they don't want to waste my time. I've had a couple meetings with managers as well who have said the same thing. Like, we're going to be honest with you. Like, we don't think this is the right fit, or we don't want to just waste your time. So I think people tend to be more authentic in Nashville. Again,
Yes.
I'm not speaking for everyone. I know that there's a dark side of it everywhere, but I think that they tend to be more authentic in Nashville and more, um, trustworthy.
I love the feeling of the artists in Nashville. We shoot in Nashville. So I love that, I'll be with one artist and they'll be like, oh, yeah, no, I know him. Or, wow, I'd love to meet him. And you make
Yeah.
a connection. And it's truly just to support each other.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I don't think in any other industry, I mean, even in what I do, that's what
Yeah.
people are like. It makes my heart so happy to make introductions to artists so they can kind of for each other.
Yeah. It's like a big family.
It is really wonderful. Like it's the help the next one in line theory. And
Totally.
that's such a cool
Yeah.
industry to be in. Are your parents over the moon proud of you?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're pretty great.
I bet. So how do the viewers, how can we get more of you?
Yeah, I
Can they
would say that
follow you? Can they see you?
yeah, I'm most present on Instagram. And my Instagram is Elle Rose. Um, and I'm pretty present on YouTube in terms of like some behind the scenes footage. I released behind the scenes footage of my
Was
last single.
you know an artist and you see the behind the scenes
I
footage?
know. I love seeing that. So that's why I try and do that for myself as an artist. I just whether or not people care, but I love watching that.
Yeah.
No matter if I know the artist or not, I just love seeing how a song is made.
I think
So
it
I'll
makes
I'll
it
be
more
doing that with this. What do you
it
say?
makes it more real as
Yeah,
opposed to, the fan base that just thinks, oh my God, she's pretty
yeah,
redhead songwriter. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I think it makes it
right.
like we're human beings in this
Yeah,
process.
right. And then you can see the flaws in it too. Like I'm filming myself when my voice is cracking and all that. So yeah, I try and do that with my songs, and I'm gonna be doing some behind the scenes with my single that I'm recording next week. So yeah, YouTube for sure is Elle Rose Music. And yeah, I would say those are the two biggest social media platforms I'm on, as well as of course streaming platforms, all the streaming platforms, Elle Rose. So
Are
yeah,
you performing anywhere?
um, nothing, nothing is booked as of now, but I think within the next few times that I make it back to Nashville, especially with my single coming out and this album on the horizon,
So
yeah, I'll
excited.
definitely be booking some shows. So yeah,
That is amazing. Okay. So last question. Would
yeah,
you come back and let us follow this amazing career?
of course, of course.
It has been truly every artist, the next one impresses me more. The next one impresses more. The humbleness of all of you and the kindness and the ability to grow. And we are super duper excited for you.
Oh, thank you. This has been so great. I'm so happy to have met you. It's
You're
awesome.
welcome to come back any darn time you.
I love it.
We would love to have you anytime.
Thank you.
We're excited to follow this career.
Thank you so much. That means so much. Thank you.
Our honor. And we'll be in touch because I think maybe you're releasing a single. We'll help you pump that up and
Yeah, totally.
really cool. And we're excited. We're super
Thank
excited
you.
for it.
That sounds amazing.
It was such a pleasure to meet you, my friend. We
You
will be
too.
in touch. If there's
Yes.
anything at all we can do, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a pleasure, friend.
All right.
Take care. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me give you my personal number for when you're in Nashville.
Perfect. Yeah. Like I said, I'm there next week and then I'm going to be back probably in August. So like it's a little crazy for me.
I'm
But
here through the 21st.
okay.
Paired up with, and I already talked to Cliff, we paired up with a suicide prevention,
Right.
um,
Nice.
to try and help get the world, especially in your industry, people it's a long day in desperate times.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's
So
pretty amazing.
it's 856
Okay.
237 7562.
Perfect.
Yeah, and keep me updated. I'd love to meet you in person.
I know. Me too.
Don't worry,
That would
I'm
be so
always
fun.
I'm in Nashville more than I am anywhere else. I'm like, it
Yeah.
probably would make sense to get rid of Dallas and come here.
So
It's
you
a,
said you're hopefully moving to Nashville?
I think right now the career demands it. Like this is where
Yeah.
all my clients are. This is where the
Yeah.
is, and I love it here.
Yeah. And so where in Dallas are you?
I'm in Frisco, right out 20
Okay.
north of downtown Dallas.
Okay. I shot my music video in Fort Worth,
Oh,
which
it's a
was
cool place.
yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool. I loved it. It was the first time I was in Texas.
Oh really? That's so funny. I
Yeah.
just think Texas like it's the center of the world. We
Yeah.
shot the ACMAs. Was down there with an artist. So
Mhm.
That's such a cool thing to watch you guys just explode and follow this dream. It's really just, it's crazy. I mean, I so applaud your consistency and your dedication because nobody gets a day off.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Even if you have a physical day off, it's like you're constantly, the wheels are
Right.
turning. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
social own job, it's
Yeah.
really its own
It's a
job.
lot.
Yeah. Well,
But we
call
love it.
me when you're in town, and if there's
I
anything
will.
you can do, we will
Thank
certainly
you.
help you out. It was such a pleasure to me. I can't wait to
I
see
know, you too. I know.
you. Have a good weekend, friend. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.